Let's go. Hi, everybody. This is Marie and Janet again from Our Silent Voice. And we have a lot of things we want to talk about today on Talk About It. So some of the things that Janet and I are working on are a Kickstarter campaign. We're learning more and more about that. And we want to ask for your submissions. We know that there are stories out there. We are listening for your stories. And if you want to get it down on a piece of paper, we're here. We're here to listen and to help you get it out there if you want to.
Yes.
Okay. And Janet, do you want to talk about some of the topics that we're going to include in our book, just to give inspiration and to maybe tweak a little something that's in the back of your mind that you haven't thought about yet?
Magical.
Here we go.
Maybe I'll talk about something that tweaks something magical in everybody, and they decide
Go for it.
Story. So first of all, thank you, Marie. Our book is titled "Fierce, Brave, and Loud." It's not about coming out of your silence meekly. It's coming out bravely and loudly, and realizing that the subject of our assault, your assault, or that of your sister or your brother or someone you know, should be talked about so that it's normalized enough not to become something that runs your life and makes all your choices for you. And I can speak from experience. That's exactly what happens. And if you're truthful with yourself, you know that's what will happen. So what we're going to be talking about in Fierce, Brave, and Loud are some of the typical topics, like perpetrators. Perpetrators aren't a particular gender. They're not a particular color. They don't wear the same clothes. They don't work in the same place. A perpetrator can be just about anybody. And so we're going to write about that. And we have got a very good chapter on that one. We're also going to talk about forgiveness. You know, there's a lot of conversation about forgiving yourself or forgiving others. Our stance on forgiveness is that whoever assaulted you or your friend or others doesn't care or even remember or even think maybe it wasn't even that big of a deal to them. And it is for you. So who you need to start forgiving is yourself for doing those things we talked about on our blog, about the voice of your mother on your shoulder, say you shouldn't have worn that dress, you shouldn't have gone to the party, you shouldn't have told that joke, you shouldn't have had that third drink, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. That conversation.
And Janet and I were talking about, after a sexual assault, who really goes to jail? Does the perpetrator go to jail? Sometimes not. Or does the victim go to jail and spend the rest of their lives thinking about it and second guessing it and having anxiety about it? That's a prison too.
That's a prison too, exactly. And when you doubt your own veracity, you talk yourself into a corner to where you become silent. We are anti-silence. Right.
And when we talk about forgiveness, we don't mean, oh, you should forgive the perpetrator. We're talking about forgiving yourself for the self-doubt, forgiving yourself for being there, forgiving yourself for what you wore, all of those things, just taking all of those things out and letting them go. Yeah. That's how you release yourself.
Yeah, so another subject we're going to talk about is our specific locations, like harassment in a location, work or church or a club or whatever you belong to. It can happen there. Oftentimes, and Marie, I've experienced this at work, where it's a microaggression. It's a hand on a shoulder, it's a pat, it's a suggestion,
This starts very subtly, yes.
Exactly. So because we started talking about those kinds of things, we started coming up with a list, and I did some research. I Googled what you can do if you've been sexually assaulted, and a website came up from the womenslaw.org.
Janet, you love a list, don't you? You just love a list.
I love lists. But the advice is pretty familiar. I mean, we've all pretty much heard it if we've looked into it, especially if we've gone into counseling because of our assault, or we have looked into how we should report it and still stay safe, and what do you do? So we looked at some of this common advice, and Marie brought up a great point about the lit. What was it called? It was called the
It's
toolkit.
called the Safer Party Toolkit,
Yeah,
and it was originated by the Audre Lorde organization. And it really is, I think it's great. I would love to see it posted in every locker room in high schools and colleges.
yeah,
But when Janet and I were talking about, I think a lot of young women especially know to not take a shower if they've been raped, and go to a hospital and get a rape kit done. We kind of do know some of those things already, but in the Safer Party Toolkit, one of the suggestions is to have two friends that you know at the party that you're going to, that you trust, that you can go to, and you know that they'll believe what you say. And to have two people back at home who will listen to you and believe you and help you, because if you're shook up by something, you might not be thinking that clearly. You need to have that friend in place that says, wait, before you take a shower, let's think this all the way through.
right.
And so I think that's really fantastic, to prepare and have a network around you before you go. And you might think it's going to be the most wonderful party ever, and you trust everyone there, and you know these people. But you know what? A perpetrator all of a sudden appears out of nowhere, and
Yes.
and you can't really foresee it. You never see it in a person before it occurs,
Yeah, that's
right,
right.
Janet?
And the a really good thing to do is to have in your phone the phone number of a local rape crisis hotline, right? So, being prepared is to have the right phone numbers, alert your friends. I went on a date one time with someone, and I alerted a friend who lived in the same community and got her cell phone number and told her I was going on this date. And she said, I'm going to be available for 24 hours. You call me if you need me,
Yeah.
right?
See, that's
So to get
perfect.
that set
That's
up,
perfect.
no.
Because you
Now,
might not always want to call 911 right away, but if
exactly.
you have that girlfriend's phone number, or that boyfriend, or that
Or the
trusted
hotline
person,
number. Exactly.
yeah, or a hotline. You're right.
And one of the things that we researched in one of our blogs, which is Accused or Nailed, that a lawyer for men who are accused of assault brought up the subject of getting scientifically tested. In other words, get your DNA logged, make sure that that information is out there. That's not a bad idea in preparation, just in case an assault happens. Have your have your DNA done. Make sure that you've got that available with your doctor or with a local hospital. So, think about that. And when you do go to the hospital for a rape kit, they'll take your DNA. But if you have it there in advance, they can always distinguish you. And it just makes sense to be scientifically prepared. I think the other part is, and this is what they talked about in the men's list, and this is what kind of brought me to a halt. You must realize the level of trouble you are in. I say, for those of us who are assaulted men and women, you realize the level of trouble that you will be given if you report. Because one of the things that happens, and I have experience in this, and it happened to me, is when you do report, oftentimes you're accused of causing it, right? You were. What else do you expect? Boys will be boys, or girls will be girls, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
A lot of assumptions will come up, so be prepared for that, and find out who the right attorney is. I support the Southern Poverty Law Center. And I know that I have a cousin in New York. Of course, I don't live in New York, but a cousin in New York that helps victims of assault. A 1-800 number. Not too bad to know who to call if something happens. You may
Go
never.
to our website, look at our resource page. We have lawyers there.
Oh, we do, don't we? Oh, our resource
Do.
page is so cool. Yeah, go to get prepared. Go to our web page. I like that idea. So one of the other things they talk about is to educate yourself. You can't help defend yourself from a place of ignorance. I don't
Go to
know.
our webpage and look at our book list.
Oh, yeah, because No Visible Bruises with that toolkit is in on our reading list, inspiration list, right?
There are some great books, and there are some stories in there that will really open your eyes.
And I think that Our Silent Voice Break the Silence gives you an opportunity, if you read it, to see what happens to other people, and it's very much like what happened to all of us. But don't think it's magical, because you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to stay up late, you're going to have to stay awake, and you're going to have to stay proactive to get yourself set up to defend yourself when you report harassment at work, at church, at a club, in your life. Now, childhood assault is a whole different question, right? I would say to be prepared to believe.
I would certainly hope so. And I think that people are more open-minded to believing children now than they might have been in the past. I think past generations, children were just dismissed as, making things up and creating these things in their minds.
Yeah, imagination.
I sincerely hope that that has changed and children's voices are listened to.
Well, I think it's
No,
important
with
for
my
parents.
children, I just always looked for any kind of sign that would tip me off that there was something amiss,
I
but
know. Yeah, and you know the thing of it is that it can happen. They think they're wrong, right? Or they think they caused it. They do the same thing that we do. They think they'll get in trouble. So when a kid talks, you need to listen to the kid, let the kid know that they've been heard. And I say kid, by the way, that's just my vernacular for the little goats that I had that have turned into magnificent
mm,
women.
but
But
any
I
young people who can't speak out for themselves,
Yeah, and they
it's
can't. But you also have to check the facts. You know, a lot of teachers get unjustly accused of things. So
yeah.
check it out. Believe, listen, and love your kid. But I think it's a great idea to put together a list and put it on our webpage or put it in a newsletter, a preparation kit, like having an extra phone numbers in your phone or an extra telephone. What do you think about that?
Well, and you mentioned putting your phone numbers in your phone. There are a lot of electronic things, safety measures that you can take, like Uber. If you're taking an Uber, you can let a third party know when you should arrive at your destination. And if you don't, they can be alerted to notify somebody that, hey, you're not here yet. Where are you?
Yeah.
Um, there are these bracelets and these rings that have, a thing, or you can set up your cell phone so that if you press both sides, it will send a silent alert to a person that you designate.
Oh, that's a great idea, Marie.
Yeah, there are a lot of little things like that that you can learn about, and just a little bit of preparation goes a long way.
Yeah, gosh, that's a great idea. I wish I'd known it. I remember signing up to carry pepper spray, and I had a hard time moving it from purse to purse. Then I forgot it, and then it was just a pain in the neck. But
Yeah.
to have an alert on my phone would be great. So, what do you think about how to respond to like a whistle or a call out in the street? Or, I mean,
That's
I
a
know it's,
really good question. And I
I
think
mean,
you have to have your phrases ready at the
I
back of
think
your mind.
so. I think
Like,
so
what do
too.
you say to that? You
Yeah.
know, like
Well,
take a picture, it lasts longer, or what do you say to that stuff?
yeah, that's not combative, but can diffuse the situation. So I thought, what would Wonder Woman do if she was whistled down the street? I don't think she'd overreact. That's for one thing. Yeah. Nor would she be aggressive. She would probably just ignore it. It's happened to me younger, obviously. But anyway, I think that's an interesting thing to talk about with your friends. What should we say when we're,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, I think if you're just walking down the street, maybe ignoring it, lifting up your head and walking by is probably the best thing you can do. But if you're in an office situation or around people, I think it would be a really good idea to make your stand known and say, you know what? I don't need to be touched like that. And I don't like being touched like that. Thank you very much. And move
Exactly.
away. And that way, everyone in the group hears you and everyone knows where you stand. There can be no question about it afterwards. Did she like it? Was she,
I know.
was she
Oh,
trying to get more attention? No, you make your stand known, you let everybody hear you say it, and then you step away.
exactly. So how do you move your boss's hand off your shoulder?
You wear one of those jackets with metal studs on this.
It's got Velcro on it, right? That it hurts. Well, I think, that we've seen a lot of that in politics, especially around, huggy guys and huggy people. And I
Listen,
think,
even when they don't hug you or touch you, they can say sweet little things to you, like,
oh God, I
hey,
know.
honey, I like those earrings. Like, what? That's not appropriate well, that's got nothing to do with the work we're doing. Why would you talk about something so personal?
Yeah.
You know?
So I think there's a lot of ideas out there. This Marie and I, from our standpoint and our generation, what we think about and how we approach it is that. But there's something that you've found out about that. You've thought about it, or you've talked about it with your friends about how to get those microaggressions off your back, off your shoulder, away from you. So we'd like to hear what you do. So if you're
Yeah.
watching this, please put a comment
You
and
know what? And as Janet says, talk about it.
yeah,
Talk about it. Talk about it
exactly.
with your friends. Find out what they have done, what saved them, or what helped them get through it. Talk
And
about it.
if you put ideas in the comments, we'll put them in our newsletter and share them with everybody. So
Yes, we will.
it
And
was
if you send
great to
us your
talk with
story,
you.
we'll publish it in our next book.
I know. Well, at least we'll look at it and we'll edit it, right? Have we
Of
ever
course.
rejected anybody? Not yet. We're waiting.
Happy Friday,
Happy
everybody.
Friday. Bye.
Bye.